Great. Thanks, first of all, for everyone who is joining, dialing in at whatever early morning or evening hour you might be joining. We are excited to share with you the citywide inclusive sanitation service assessment and planning tool. We have a fantastic group of speakers and a really interesting presentation for you today. Go ahead. We're going to go over the goals of the tool presented by SOS, the Eastern and Southern Water and Sanitation Association of Regulators. We'll give you an introduction to the tool itself, demonstrate how it's been used for considering tariffs and project intervention designs. KCCA, Kampala City Authority, will share with you their use case, and the regulator from Uganda, WORD, will review the strategy and goals for how they plan to use the tool, and then we'll give a wrap up that goes into some of the broader implications for the tool. We want to make sure that at the end of the meeting you understand some of the basic platform features and functionalities, and you've had a chance to see how the platform can be used for tariff and subsidy design evaluations, infrastructure investment packages, business models, and really looking across how those pieces come together and interact with one another. We also want to make sure that you understand where the tool is being used currently, what the institutional partnerships are that came together to really shape the design of this tool, and how it will be used for public service delivery, particularly in the SOS region, with Tanzania, Uganda, Zambia, and Kenya really being key partners in designing the tool and detailing it. But we'll dive into that in a broader conversation, looking at Uganda's experience. So I'll pass this over to Yvonne, who's going to share the background and context from SOS. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Elise, and good day to everybody. I'll just give a brief background of what SOS is. The Eastern and Southern Africa Water and Sanitation Regulators Association, in full, is a network of water supply and sanitation regulators from the Eastern and Southern African region, which are cooperating to promote effective regulation of water supply and sanitation. So we have two key objectives, which are related to capacity building and also promoting best practices across the region. Next. Okay, so before we talk about what CWIS SAP is and what it means for regulation, it's important to understand what key challenges exist in trying to regulate sanitation. The sanitation sector has typically been characterized by inadequate coordination and agreement of what is acceptable sanitation. Even the definition of what is safe sanitation is not completely agreed on and harmonized among the various stakeholders. There's been a lot of fragmented coordination of actors in the sanitation service chain, all the way from capture and containment up to disposal reuse. We have seen multiplicity of actors across the chain, which makes it very difficult, coming to my next point, in getting data on what is actually existing on the ground. So with inadequate data, it's quite difficult to then support decision-making. And related to this is the low and uncoordinated investment into the sanitation sector. We have seen quite a lot of investment go into sewerage services, but even that is limited, and the infrastructure which is there cannot cover a significant number of the urban population. Next.
We might have lost Yvonne. I know there's a presidential inauguration going on in Osaka at this point. So I can kind of pick up unless she comes back on here. So my name is Lee. I'm an associate director at Athena, and have been working with Yvonne and others on this tool. So in terms of kind of what we're looking at, because of those challenges and the discussions we've had around them, there was this felt need for developing a tool that is now, it looks like Yvonne is back. I'll finish the slide and let you jump back in, Yvonne. That enables us to essentially have a macro planning tool to be able to kind of estimate financial and equity metrics via some of the different combinations and various service delivery mechanisms and scenarios that happen at a city scale. And so there's a number of people kind of working in this space, and so this group of folks, and Yvonne will kind of highlight the group here, got together to really kind of look at what are the different functionalities and needs that will help kind of support those key gaps that she alluded to in the prior slide. Back over to you, Yvonne, if you're back on.
Thank you so much, Lee. Thank you for stepping in.
No problem.
So the CWIS SAP has been used in 4 cities among our members. The first one being Lusaka, which is under the National Water Supply and Sanitation Council, the regulator, and the utility being
LWSC here, and they were really an initial partner in this, and have used it in a number of different, used the tool in a number of different ways. Additional partners also include folks out of Kenya, and I'll mention that the Lusaka team will be speaking later, just past the hour here within the TBC GSMA session about that experience in terms of trying to think about this digital tool within the context of larger digital solutions for the sanitation sector. You can see the other partners here. Obviously, we're very excited to have our colleagues from Uganda on this call, and we'll hear from them about some of their experiences in using the tool and some of the challenges, and then also some of the paths forward in terms of how they're thinking about using it. So in terms of from an SOS perspective and where they're looking to move with this, and I can't speak exactly to Yvonne, she would be better at this, but just generally looking to kind of streamline the use of SAP within the regulatory process as a key kind of piece to that, and a number of different applications. And you'll actually see those applications later in the presentation in terms of what it can really do and the processes that it can help support. Along with this, obviously this tool is relatively extensive, and so there's some internal capacity development and some support material kind of around that, making it a service, not just a tool. So thinking about the kind of the whole service within this sector and using that tool. And then obviously kind of looking at how we disseminate it through train the trainer activities with the current partners and other partners as well. So those are really kind of the big pieces that SOS is looking to kind of leverage. So with that, and this is kind of where my part comes in, I'm going to give you just a quick overview of and let me turn my video on too. I'm going to give you a quick overview of the SAP tool itself. We're going to dive in a little bit. We're going to actually do 2 breakout rooms. So you have your option of breakout rooms to see the tool in action, just some basic examples to get a sense of what it looks like, and specific use case examples as well. And then we're going to kind of rejoin and get to hear from KCCA and Word kind of about how they're leveraging the tool here. So like any type of sanitation tool, thinking about the city scale, we're working across the whole value chain and all the different technologies that are associated with each part of those value chains and how they're cross-linked to each other. So that's pretty straightforward. Obviously, it gets quite complicated as we kind of add in additional very important metrics that utilities and regulators face in that space. So thinking about low-income households and non-low-income households and being able to kind of account for who is being serviced. And then the tool also extends not just beyond this sanitation hardware system piece, but also into the service delivery model, which also partly includes the revenue model, that is, and thinking about, are there mechanisms we can do that go beyond just hardware, or if we can't change the hardware, or other things we can do to optimize the current infrastructure that we have via changes in service delivery or revenue models that we use. So that's one exciting piece of the tool that we're really trying to continue to discover additional use cases and functionalities with the tool as we continue to kind of improve upon how it's structured. So just briefly, and you can look at these slides later, because this is pretty common, and we're continuing to learn about how we want to think about all the different infrastructure options, because there's a lot within just thinking about capture of waste, conveyance of waste, thinking about the emptying and transport, and the treatment and reuse. So again, there's a lot of different options, and we're continuing to kind of think about within the tool how those are combined. And I think right now we have like 170 different potential combinations that can happen within the tool, but trying to simplify it down to make it easy to use at the same time. So feel free to kind of browse that and reach out if you have questions to the types of infrastructure that we're able to cover within this. Additionally, like I mentioned, I think a key piece of this also was thinking about how we extend it beyond just infrastructure and like the basic cost benefit analysis that we do into something that continues to be more and more amenable to utilities and regulators in this space, thinking about revenue models, things like adjusting tariffs and the types of tariffs we have, the structure and the regime that we use. And also thinking about the service delivery models that are associated with those as well, and the different things we can do with the service delivery models in a city that might help optimize some of the infrastructure in a new way, or in a more cost-effective way as well. So a couple pieces there that I think are really important to keep in mind. And again, we're going to see some detail on what the tool is able to do, but that's kind of mainly the inputs that go into the tool. What we get in terms of outputs are three primary sets of metrics. A set of metrics around equity, a set of metrics around sustainability, both financial and environmental, and then a set of metrics around safety and safely managed waste. So just briefly, because we'll have more information on this later, thinking about equity in terms of things like public expenditure, or for the household, the annual household expenditure are really important. For financial sustainability, thinking about your cost coverage ratios and your net profit losses. For environmental sustainability, thinking about water requirements and making sure that you fit within the parameters of your water balance model for the city. And then for safely, is thinking about safely managed waste and thinking about the SFDs and the method they have created, and leveraging that to make sure that we're also capturing aspects of safely managed waste as well. And you'll see some use cases today. You'll see one kind of more around tariffs and regulation, thinking about how we can use the tool for that. We'll see some around, Mithra is going to walk us through a demo on planning, thinking about various interventions and the diversification of interventions and the implications of those. You can also use it obviously for advocacy as well, thinking about being able to kind of demonstrate the possibility or a new project, and then being able to advocate for that new project or that new tariff adjustment or anything kind of in that space as well. So a number of different use cases that you can have for this. So for this demo, we created a fictitious city, but a city that reflects some of the commonalities we've seen in the field with this. And so for this, we're actually going to go to Middle Earth with the Lord of the Rings and go visit the city of Shire. And that is going to be our test city for our demo city for today. So I'm just going to give you a little background now, and then you'll see that reflected in the tool in the breakout session that you participate in. So our city of Shire has about 2.6 million people, growing at about a 4% rate. Roughly about 30% of the folks in the city of Shire are non-low-income households. About 70% are low-income households. And our safe sanitation coverage is right around 28%. So that combines a couple different things. The primary area of safe coverage is through sewers. So there's a sewer network of about 540 kilometers with about 8 wastewater treatment plants. However, that primarily services non-low-income families. non-low income households. And most other folks are on-site systems, most of those being in the quote unquote unsafe category. So that's kind of the setup of our demo city that we're going to dive into, and pertinent to both of the demo sessions, but mine specifically, we also do have a sewer volumetric tariff where we can recover some of the costs there, and we'll talk a little bit about that more in the session that I'm going to lead. So with that, we want to quickly break into breakout rooms. And so if you're interested in seeing the tool applied a little bit more in the space of revenue models, specifically tariffs, and thinking about it from more of a regulator standpoint, I would invite you to join me in breakout room 1. And if you're more interested in thinking about various kind of different infrastructure options and various combinations of infrastructure options for interventions and the implications of those, Mithra is going to run breakout room 2 and discuss and demonstrate that within the tool. Once we're done here, we'll come back to the main room, and then we'll get into some breakout, or excuse me, we'll get into more of a discussion with KCCA and Word kind of about how they've utilized the tool as well. So let me go ahead and set up these breakout rooms and let you choose where to go. Let's see. So I'm going to pause recording.
It has been a population of 1.5 million people. It's at the lake, the shores of Lake Victoria. And during the day, the population really swells up to 3 million. Unfortunately, 60% of our people stay in informal settlements. Only 40% are the ones who are living in non-informal areas. Next. So in our city, Kampala, we are having mainly issues with the on-site sanitation systems. The city has 92% of the population using on-site sanitation systems. Sewer line is only covering 8%. For those who are using on-site sanitation system at the access level, we find we are having sanitation facilities which are not on standard, which are not easily emptiable. Also, when you look at the accessibility to these facilities, very difficult. The most common method of emptying of these pits is manual. We can manual or semi-mechanized. We've got challenges of drainage, and our city is found in a hill area and valleys. So most of the informal settlements are found in the valleys, whereby they are prone to flooding during the wet season. Next. So we were introduced to the SAP tool by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Athena Informatics, so that we could use this tool, one, to evaluate where we are, and two, look at our strategy, whether we can achieve it, because they found us when we had already done a strategy. Then three is to see what can we do in order to track our progress, and what can we do to fast track our progress to achieve our goals. So we decided to have the baseline for consideration, as you have seen, to be the year 2030. That's why that's when we want to achieve our goal of access to safe and adequate sanitation by all. And then, so it's a 10-year strategy. So why did we take this? It is because we considered of course, the Sustainable Development Goals, which are targeting the year 2030. Then we have got also the Kampala Sanitation Improvement Financing Strategy, which is also aligned to the sustainable goals and which we hope will be achieved in 2030. Then also we have got the KCC, the Kampala Capital City Authority Strategic Plan, which will be ending in 2025, and then we'll have another cycle of 5 years. So we shall end our second cycle with the 2030. Hence, we used the year 2030 as a year for achieving our goal, and the 2020 to be our baseline. Our target, I've already talked about it, is that to have 100% safe coverage in our city. So we went ahead and looked at the data we had, and what we want in our city. We don't like to have any toilet which is not unlined to prevent contamination of the groundwater system. We want to construct new toilets for our people, for those who don't have toilets, all upgrade those toilets to meet the basic standards. And we hope to construct new toilets to the tune of 92,000 toilets. Then we would like to have to construct wastewater treatment plants, 4 of them, and 2 fecal sludge treatment plants. We would like to extend our sewer line by 13 kilometers, and also we need to rehabilitate and the densification, reduce on the number of people who are connected to a particular sewer line according to its size, our 84 kilometers which are in place. So when with these objectives, we went ahead and fed them in our tool. After feeding them in our tool, one of the things which came up, it showed us that at the access level, we are going to invest a lot in the sewer line. However, the people who are going to benefit from it are few. It is very important that, okay, the money we are putting in the sewer line will be leading us to few people are going to benefit as compared to those who are investment in on-site sanitation systems. So it implies that the tool was indicating to us that it is better we fast track our activities that make people to access on-site sanitation systems than when it comes to the sewer line. Then when we went to look at regulation, currently it showed us that there is no regulation at household level. There is the same regulation at emptying and transportation, and then there is the regulation at reuse. When it came to the investment, it showed us that at baseline level, our strategy shows that we are going to invest a lot in the sewer line. However, the coverage, especially for the people living in informal settlements, we are going to be targeting very few people to benefit at that level. However, when it comes to the on-site sanitation systems, the investment is lower. However, the number who are going to benefit is bigger. So what it showed us in a nutshell is that the sewage system is very expensive, and for us to hit our target, we better put our efforts on on-site sanitation systems, and also we should target people living in the informal settlements who are covering 60%. Then another thing also, we went ahead and looked at, after knowing our baseline of 2030, what will happen in the year 2025 when the KCCA strategic plan will be ending. There, we went ahead and said our TIF will put an effort of subsidy. So we decided to subsidize, to have a scenario where we are subsidizing at the access point at construction of toilets alone. We also went and looked at what if we will subsidize the emptying plus the containment. What came out of that, it showed us that it is very important for us to improve our regulation of the private sector if we are to achieve our goal of access to all by 2030. Also, we need to control the pricing if you are to have improved emptying for our people, so that by the year 2030 we hit the target. Also, we need to invest in on-site sanitation systems and focus on low-income areas. We went ahead and also it showed us where to prioritize. The tool has helped us a lot in the prioritization of the little resources we have. However, it is important for us to know that, hello, go back a bit, one slide. Okay, it's important for us to consider the tariff and the subsidy adjustments, that we should not only we should not only concentrate on containment alone, but we should also consider emptying, because once we have sanitation facilities which are full, we shall not be able to achieve our target. Next. So the lessons learned, the Kampala, it showed us that the Kampala sanitation improvement and financing strategy of 2030 is achievable. And also it shows that, for example, it shows that we will need to increase our coverage, our investment at household level, and especially in informal settlements. Secondly, it showed us that as regulators, we need to invest more in enforcement, marketing, and advocacy strategies in order for us to achieve our desired goal. Also, it is important for us to concentrate on emptying of the existing facilities, because they are the ones which are going to add on what we want to construct in order to achieve the goal of access by all by the year 2030. Next. Our observations. First, it is very important that if we were to use this tool, that you have a strategic plan, all have clear goals for your city. If you don't have it, it becomes very difficult for you to use this tool. Also, there is a need to adopt a holistic approach in planning, monitoring, and evaluation of sanitation services. Okay, it is not good for you only to consider piecemeal. You should consider the whole chain, sanitation chain. That's when you can achieve adequate sanitation for all. Because if you don't, then one part of the chain will clog and you'll not be able to achieve your goal. Self-containment that is not serviceable leads to unsafe sanitation. Also, it is important to understand the source of funding for each proposed intervention when we are planning, whether it is coming at, whether it is going to be at household level, government, utility, grants, loans, at strategy level, because this tool really shows you that you need to know the source of funding and you gauge whether that source can facilitate you to get such funds to achieve your goal. Next. So the challenge, the major challenge is using the tool that data was not readily available. The tool requires data and it was not readily available. That was one of the challenges. The other one, that the tool requires data to be aggregated into low income and non-low income. So the data we normally collect on our daily basis has to be changed so that it fits the tool in considering the low income and the non-low income. That was a bigger challenge. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Jude. And I know we're close to time, but we have a couple minutes, I think, before we get kicked off. And I do want to hear some of Chris's comments as well. And Chris, maybe you can kind of give us a high level from this slide, what you guys are thinking about and doing right now from the regulatory standpoint, knowing that this we might get kicked off here in a bit. But Chris, over to you real quick.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lee, and thanks everybody. The Water Utilities Regulation Department in Uganda is we are members of Eastern and Central Africa utility regulators, and we got to get wind of this from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and Agua Consult from that SOS, that there is such a tool, because we are keen to look for the regulatory tools. What tools can we use to regulate service provision in water supply and sanitation and sewerage? And our vision is enabling environment for effective regulation of water and sanitation services. And what we have picked from the experiences and the statements from the Kampala City Authority is all that we have worked together, but we want to see how best we can move forward, because it has helped us to do quite a number of things to look at investment targeting. Where do we get this money? Who does this? Who does what? Looking at the different utility service providers. And we want to look at how we can further this by training the different actors. That is in addition to what we have done with the City Authority and National Water and Sewage Corporation, which is a corporation that is only looking at water supply, sanitation, and sewage services in the city of Kampala. I want to see how we can do training to the other private companies. That is, we have got those successful emptiers associations, because from this tool, what we realized is that there are quite a number of dashboards that we can enter and specific targeting, and we say if this is an empty association, or if this is a sewerage company, or this is a local government authority like the City Authority, what can they do and what they do. We have quite a number of other tools. The other one is Utility Performance and Monitoring Information System, APMIS, what we call APMIS. We have also been trying out the town sanitation planning tool, but the advantage that we are picking from the SAP tool, the CWIS SAP tool, is the different entry points. You can enter quite a number, and you see different dashboards, you see the different outputs, so that we don't simply say the tariff setting is so much, but we want to say, if you set a tariff, how do you achieve? Where does the investment that goes into the development of those activities that will generate that tariff? And if we talk about the target that you are targeting to increase sanitation coverage by a certain percentage, how much investment do you need? Who does this investment? So it will help us in effective resource planning and allocation. And we also want to see how we can roll out this SAP tool. We thank the authority, City Authority in Kampala and National Water and Sewage Corporation for the water supply and especially sewerage services. And we want to use this one and see how we can expand into the different cities and municipalities within the country, as my colleague has also indicated. I think that is, Lee, I did have another slide, but this is what we are looking at. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bill and Melinda Gates. Thank you, the Agua consultant, Athena Infonomics, for giving us, it's a wonderful, at least a wonderful regulation tool, especially for sanitation, which sanitation planning and sanitation regulation has been a little bit behind the water supply regulation. That's all I can comment.
No, thank you so much, Engineer Chris, and we're grateful for your leadership as well on this. And as we wrap up, because I know we're a little over time and people want to make the next sessions, I do really appreciate all the speakers today and the participants, leaving you with a couple takeaways. Again, what we talked about at the beginning. Again, grateful for folks attending. Please come back to our Pathwell page, because we'll be uploading files there if you're interested in more stuff. And we'll be making additional comments in the chat where you can find resources, things like how to get into the tool. We'll provide that as well. We do have one session currently after this it's happening right now, where folks from Lusaka will be talking about SAP, and then one on Thursday as well. And you can just take a screen grab of that if you want, where folks from WASREB in Kenya will be talking as well about their kind of experience too. So with that, thank you everyone so much for coming, and thanks again to our speakers for their engagement as well. So appreciate it.